We're going to continue our study of the letter that Paul wrote to the church in Romans. And read along. And I've read this book over and over again. There's no doubt, and it's not just the folks in Romans, it's folks everywhere Paul visited and established a church. It seems like every letter that he writes, he's addressing some serious issues that are going on. He's having to remind them of things that were initially taught and established. And it's no different. It's no different for the folks here in Rome. He's apparently, based on how he starts the book off, there's some serious judging of folks. There's some blatant hypocrisy that folks are doing. And he's also pointing out that your heritage, your pedigree, whatever you want to call it, it's not all that in a bag of chips. But he does stress who and what you are inwardly. A lot more important than who and what you are outwardly. Last week, I covered a couple verses that I just wanted to emphasize on, and today I'm just going to pick one from last week's lesson, and that is verse 18. I just want to, just a little reminder for both me and y'all, what it says. For the wrath of God, this is chapter 1, verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. And I think last week, I let Webster define, but wrath, again, just a reminder, it means strong, vengeful anger or indignation, I couldn't pronounce it last week. Say again? Retributory punishment of an offense or a crime or divine chastisement. And the point that I made last week is the verse doesn't read that God gets mad, God gets upset. It's the wrath of God, which means that there is punishment to pay. If someone get angry and mad, do you pay for that? Maybe, but maybe not. But wrath, and I think that word was chosen for a reason. And the other point that I like to bring out from last week from the lesson, from the book, is like I said, sometimes I scratch my head where the guy's coming from that wrote it. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that's good. And I think a very powerful thing that he brought up in last week's lesson, and I just want to, again, friendly reminder to y'all and me, is that God is not neutral towards sin. And if God's not neutral towards sin, we ought not be neutral towards sin. He slammed one church in Revelation, I forget which one, for riding the fence, or for being lukewarm or cold or something along those lines. But the bottom line is, you can't be a fence rider and please God, because God doesn't ride the fence. So, with all that said, I'd like to start off this morning reading verses 1 through 10, and we're going to, the lesson for this week, as far as the book goes, covers down on the last group of verses of chapter 3. There's some powerful, important things that I think we can't just skip over in chapter 2. So I would like to touch base on a couple of those. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. Therefore, you are without excuse, every man of you who passes judgment, for when that you judge another, you condemn yourself. For you who judge practice the same things. And we know that the judgment of God rightly falls upon those who practice such things. Keep in mind those things. I want to ask you about that. And do you suppose this, O man, when you pass judgment upon those who practice such things, and do the same yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Or do you think lightly of the riches of his kindness and forbearance and patience, not knowing that the kindness of God leads you to repentance? But because of your stubbornness and unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself in the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of God. He will render to every man according to his deeds. To those who, by perseverance in doing good, seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. But to those who are selfishly ambitious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, wrath, and indignation. There will be tribulation and distress for every soul of man who does evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Greek. But glory and honor and peace to every man who does good, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. So, in chapter 1, it kind of seems like Paul was really coming down on the Gentiles. Letting them know, hey, here's what y'all are doing. And because you knew me, but you didn't honor me, I'll give you over to your craziness. And they did some crazy bad things. But Paul went on, as I mentioned last week, Paul specifically talked about in 24 through 27, where it condemns homosexuality, but it does not end there. And he goes on and gives us a laundry list of all the unrighteousness and ungodliness that the Gentiles were doing. Well, chapter 2, well, now I'm talking to you Gentiles and I'm talking to you Jews. Because apparently, as I stated earlier, there's some serious hypocrisy going on. The Jews are throwing rocks at the Gentiles for all that they're doing wrong, but yet, apparently, they're doing the same thing. Or at least, Paul's letting them know if you're doing the same thing. But one of the things, and that's what I want, my first question is, the things that he's referring to, what's he talking about? We're going to get these crickets out of this article. We're given a list. And the bottom line is, it's all of the unrighteousness and ungodliness that he stated. Yes. Not an all-inclusive. But what I will say, and someone mentioned it last week, and I forget who it was, and I didn't write it down. Someone, and so whoever you were, say it again when I script is paraphrasing. But last week someone said it's a lot easier to point out or see sins of other people that you don't have. Did I get that right? Whoever said it last week? Okay.
We each have our favorite sin.
There you go. So it's really easy, It's really easy for me to dog someone out. Hey, you're a drunkard, and you get drunk all the time. But all says you get drunk, and you're wrong for drinking. You're going to go to hell for drinking because you get drunk all the time. But yet I'm sitting over here abusing whatever, drugs, TV, money, whatever. The bottom line is we've all got sin in our lives.
You might be gossiping.
Or I might be gossiping. Exactly. And that was and one of the reasons why I pointed out last week, why I wanted to read all that, I think I read it a couple of times, and then we'll just go ahead and read it again. Like I said, it's real easy because Paul spelled it out about homosexuality. He spelled it out. But right below that, in the same unrighteousness and ungodliness, and I'm going to read it and tell me, is there any of these that I haven't done? Because one of them we've all done. Unrighteousness, wickedness, greed, evil, full of envy. We may not all have murdered. Strife, deceit, malice, gossips, they're gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, arrogant, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, we were all kids, without understanding, untrustworthiness, unloving, and unmerciful. I can't say I've always showed mercy in my life. In whatever position that was, whether it's a parent, whether it's a position in a civilian job, or anything. So, that's the unrighteousness and ungodliness. It's not an all-encompassing list. But can you sit back and say, yeah, I haven't done any of those. I can sit back and say I haven't done a few of those. But one of them, or two of them, hit home. And that's where Paul's coming from. Okay, judgment. People judging others. It says in here, that first verse, every man of you who passes judgment, for in that you judge another, you condemn yourself. So, and we've heard this other places in Paul's letters, or not Paul's letter, maybe it was the gospel, I think Jesus said. So when you judge others, you condemn yourself. How does that work? Why is that in there? Why is it worded that way? What does it mean? How does that happen?
We're all sinners. Like we said a while ago, we're all sinners. And when we sin is sin. And when we condemn sin in others, that just points out more of the sin that we are involved in.
And that's it. And you said the magic words. Sin is sin. And we all got it.